Hey everyone, welcome or welcome back. If you're new here, my name is LK and today I am finally giving my front porch a makeover. Even though this is a really small outdoor space, a well-designed front porch can make a huge difference because it's the first thing you see before you walk into the home. And if it's done right, I think it can actually feel like additional square footage for living. So this little makeover is going to be very renter friendly and realistic with a ton of different ideas that you can use on any outdoor space that might need a little bit more function or personality. This video is going to look just a little bit different than my usual makeovers because I am trying to be a little bit more careful and private with the front of my home, but I wanted to still bring you guys along, especially since a lot of you really liked my 12 outdoor DIY projects video. So I'm going to show you how some of those ideas work in this real space, and then I'm going to finish it off with some additional little project ideas. So let me show you what I'm currently working with. Okay, so this is my front porch and it's just a cute little rectangle in front of the front door and the dining room window. And of course, I can't block the walkway from the steps to the front door, so there's really not a lot of workable area here. But I really want to give it this cute little facelift because we usually let the cats out here in the morning for some sun and sit on the steps and have our coffee. And you can also see this area directly from our dining room window on the inside of the house. So even though it's a small area, it does affect the overall feel of the home when you look outside or walk right in. And I think that's why this area has been bothering me for so long, but I've been putting it on the back burner because I wanted to spend more time focusing on the areas that we use a lot more in the home. And I also feel kind of discouraged as most of the things here feel like they need to be renovated. On one hand, the house is really cute. It's this 1929 Spanish Revival style. It's got this smeared stucco look on the outside. It's also got a terracotta tile roof, and then what seems like terracotta tile floors, and a terracotta colored paint around the trim of the windows. And I really do love the home, even with all its imperfections, but when you're sitting out there, you really start to notice all these small little details that need repair. And one of the biggest things that you notice is the flooring has some kind of like finish on it, whether it's a glossy or paint or just some kind of coating, and it's chipping off a lot. No matter how much we wash the floor, it always looks discolored. And additionally, there's also some stains on the flooring from old doormats and pots from previous tenants. And anytime I've tried to power wash or wash this, the paint chips off, and it's not really so much the lime stains that I'm really worried about, or even the doormat stain, it's mostly the chipping, and I don't want to keep washing this and have to replace the flooring or be responsible for it. Also, the walls just have a lot of discoloration and holes, old anchors, little screws. Also, the paint has chipped, and then within the trim of the window, there's some old nails and staples. And overall, everything just needs a fresh coat of paint. And then the front door is one of my favorite things. I think it's such a really pretty design. It's made out of solid wood, but it's clearly super sun bleached and seriously needs to be refinished. But it's such a bummer that it's completely hidden by this really heavy rusted metal screen door. It's in really rough condition. The screen is kind of popping off, and then the whole door definitely needs to be like sanded down and repainted. Additionally, the light fixture is really weathered and chalky every time you touch it. It's so gross. And I just don't think it adds anything to the curb appeal or the front porch experience. And the doorbell situation is so whack. I don't understand what this is or where this came from, but it's never worked. So we've never had an operational doorbell. So answering the door has always been chaotic because people are usually banging on the screen door and I can't really hear it from the back of the house. So I really want to fix that. So there's two different ways I can go about restoring or making over this front porch. One is the restoration and renovation route where I'm restoring the door, I'm stripping it down and restaining it. I'm also maybe finding out what the outdoor paint is and using some outdoor paint to recover the stucco and filling all of those holes with some joint compound. And I have done bigger projects like that even as a renter at this home and other homes. But the second route is to just take the space as it is and give it some renter-friendly upgrades in a budget-friendly way. So I'm going to aim to spend like around $500 or less to just make it look a little bit nicer so that you can kind of feel distracted from looking at all of the negative parts and maybe just feel like when you walk up to the home, it feels really curated and not so run down, I guess. So before I get started on any updates on the front porch, I always get started with any project with some kind of mood board. And I always tell you guys it's really important to know the big picture, the big idea of what you would like, because then you can kind of work backwards and find maybe more budget-friendly ways to go about it or more creative DIY hack ways to go about it. So this is kind of my little Milanote board, and I create one of these for every single one of my projects, even if it's really minimal. And I just wanted to start with what I like in a front porch. So when I think about my dream front porch, I think about this like craftsman style overhang thing where you could put like 2 rocking chairs and there's a bunch of plants and maybe some tables and just a little maybe gated off area where I could have the cats come out safely. And this is just giving me some general ideas for what I might want to incorporate on this front porch. I'm of course not going to add like an overhang, and I probably wouldn't want to do that anyways because it diminishes the light that comes into the house. But maybe a gate is an option. Maybe some little chairs are an option. Of course, you know me, I'm also going to be adding plants out there, edible ones and just ornamental ones. I know that I want to bring in some furniture for sitting down, obviously, and also a side table or two, which would be great. But I really want the furniture pieces to feel like they're going to fit the Spanish style of the home. So I want to find pieces that have like more of that iron look to them. And I think that can really add to the curb appeal of the home altogether and really make it look a little bit more finished. I think having 2 small chairs is ideal versus 2 big rocking chairs, which would be my dream, just because there's not a lot of space to work with. And then 1 to 2 little small side tables would be fantastic. I also think adding in maybe some plant stands to add like some height variation would be great as well. I think the more plants you can have, the more that the space looks curated and landscaped, especially from the curb. And I think as many plants as I can bring in without it feeling overwhelming is going to be really helpful. And also being maybe more selective with the pots that I use on the porch as well. Ideally, I'd love to figure out a solution for the doorbell and try to find something that feels a little bit more authentic to the home. So I really like something like this that has like this ornate detail. I feel like this was probably maybe something original that was here. And then I also want to find an affordable outdoor light fixture to replace the one that's out there. Just something to look a little bit nicer, isn't so gross and chalky and weathered. Nothing super special, but just a little upgrade. I of course wanted to fit in with like someone of the era of the home, whether it's Spanish Revival or Craftsman, Art Deco, that kind of thing. Be really cool to find like a stained glass light secondhand, especially if it would fit in this area, but that is definitely something I'm going to look for. I of course want to add a little doormat, something that feels really simple and minimal and just matches the style of the home once again. And then I want to make a decision on the flooring out here, whether it's a really big rug or some tiles or some planks, something to just cover up what's out there. Unfortunately, I really like it. It's just really rough looking, and no matter how much you clean it, it's never going to look fully designed. So I need something to just kind of distract your eye from how rough the flooring looks. I definitely don't want it to look very IKEA out here. As much as I love IKEA and they have really great, affordable, versatile, approachable pieces, I really want it to look a little bit more curated for this house and this neighborhood. So that means I'm going to be looking for pretty much everything secondhand. So now that we've kind of decided on a visual direction for this front porch, I really want to start with the biggest problem area. So I got some of these run-in tiles at IKEA, and I've shown these on my channel before. I originally bought these years ago for my apartment in LA. My balcony was so gross and the flooring was just disgusting from previous tenants. So I covered it with a bunch of these tiles and also some of like the faux grass ones, and it really cleaned it up and made it look so much nicer. So I wanted to try it on my front porch to see how I felt about it, since I haven't used them for years, just to give it a cleaned up look. These are so simple to install. They have 2 sides that are similar on one corner and 2 sides that are similar on another corner, and they basically just interlock, and so you can just lock them in by pressing down, or I just like to step on them to lock them in, and you'll hear it snap. So they're totally renter friendly and easy to dismantle if you need to. And luckily these tiles were almost just the same size as the tiles below it, so they pretty much fit this area perfectly. And if you want to hide the edge of this so that it looks a little bit more finished, they do sell these little finishing pieces that looks like a little black sloped piece that kind of just squares it off. I didn't personally like that. I felt like it kind of cheapened the look, especially just on my front porch, because I made sure to orient this so that the simple edge was exposed on the outside, but it is an option depending on your space. So as you can see, as I get to the end here, these tiles are just a little bit too long to fit this area perfectly. So you can actually cut these down with a jigsaw and just fit them into the space as needed. So I just created a template and then taped up the tiles with some painter's tape so that they didn't chip, and then just used my saw to trim off the extra, and then laid down a doormat. And this was completely done and it looks so much better. So I went back back and forth for a really long time trying to decide on whether I wanted to do a rug or tiles out here. And I finally just decided on these tiles from IKEA. I think I used like 5 packs and they were $39 each. So you guys can do the math. I think it was like $180 or $200 or something for these, but that's not really a bad deal considering how much space it covered. I also think it added some really nice color to this area and kind of made it pop against the red and the green and the white. So it is looking pretty nice. And I think it's just a little bit easier to maintain. A rug is something I would have to clean all the time, especially with how much foot traffic is coming through here. And we've had like such random weather with like lots of rain or lots of heat. And so these things are made out of acacia wood, and I think they're just a little bit more durable than a rug. And I have always liked using them. They do look like a little IKEA, but I think once I get some furniture and plants out here, it's going to look totally different. So I'm really happy with this decision, and I think it's a huge upgrade already. So I think the biggest reason why this front porch has taken me so long to complete is I've been shopping so much at estate sales, garage sales, Facebook Marketplace, just to find pieces that I could fit into my budget that also fit the vision that I was trying to accomplish on this front porch, where it like matched the style of the home and the neighborhood, and also pieces that fit like logistically into this small little area. So it took me quite a while, but I think I finally found all the pieces that I really need for this space. So first I found this plant stand, I think at an estate sale, and I didn't really mind the rusted old look of it. I think the patina just kind of adds to the whole vision that I'm going for. And then I went to the nursery and picked up one of these Mexican terracotta bowl pots. I think these are so fantastic. And a lot of the nurseries sell these, and it was probably like $15 or $20. And I just used some cuttings from some of the succulent plants on the property and stuck them into this bowl and rooted them, and then put some pebbles on top just to keep the moisture in. And I think this is kind of a really cool look. And I love how the yellow color matches the flooring, and it just kind of gives a little bit more cohesion there and some more color variety, I guess. And this is my first little plant addition to this area. And then I found these 2 chairs on Facebook Marketplace for $40. They're made out of iron and they have a really nice finish on them, so they don't even need to be refinished at all. They're actually really comfortable, believe it or not, and I think they could do with like a cushion or something, but other than that, I really like the simple style of them. And they're the perfect size to fit this little L-shaped format that I was going for. You would not believe how hard it was for me to find 2 matching chairs that were affordable that also met the vision I was going for, so I'm very happy with these. But the thing that really stumped me was trying to find an outdoor table that would fit this area and also the style, as well as within my budget, and something that would just be durable for the elements outside. And then finally, the last piece I found was this cute little table for $30 on Facebook Marketplace, and the seller even delivered it to my home. And I thought it was so pretty. It almost has this Art Nouveau vibe to it. The person I bought it from said that it was very old from their grandparents' house, so who knows how old it is or what the origin story is, but I absolutely love it. It's just so rusted and really worn out. I want to say it's made from cast iron because it's so heavy. So I wanted to give it that cast iron look and also protect it. So I'm going to restore it by using a metal brush and literally scrubbing for 20 minutes straight to get all of the loose rust and chipping pieces of metal off of it. And then I just hosed it off so that there was no dust or residue left over and let it completely dry in the sun. And then I did some research and found that Lowe's had some Valspar direct metal paint, and this is a lot better than just using spray paint because it's literally formulated to grip metal, so it's less likely to peel or flake when the furniture flexes or gets bumped or sits in heat and cold. It also has some built-in rust protection, and it also dries with a really thick hard coat. As you might know, I've been obsessed with this paint sprayer. It was only $49, and I think this is really the best way to apply this paint. You just have to water it down a tad so that it goes through the paint sprayer evenly, but it gives such a nice complete finish coat, and it's just as easy, if not easier, than spray painting. If you want a full tutorial on how to use this paint sprayer, I will link a video in the description below where I walk you through setting it up from start to finish. This little table came with a glass top that looked kind of stained, and it's discolored, and it's got some like weird stuff on it that I could not get off with this really great glass cleaner that I absolutely love. So I just did 2 rounds of cleaning it, and then I brought in some steel wool. This is quadruple zero steel wool, so it won't actually scratch the glass, but it will be a really nice abrasive to get rid of any kind of weird discoloring or some of this gunk that was stuck on here. And as you can see, it came off like so easily. So this is the best way to, I think, restore some glass for an outdoor table. Okay, it's a new day and it is so hot outside. It's like 85 degrees in February, which is unheard of. I don't know what is going on, but I'm gonna head over to the hardware store to see what kind of doorbell options they have. Never really even looked at doorbells. I've only ever had like a Ring doorbell, so I need to see what I can do. And maybe there's like a TaskRabbit that can come over and like hardwire the doorbell, or maybe my landlord can give me some advice. I'm gonna reach out to them as well to see what they have to say. But in the meantime, I'm just gonna see if there's something that I can do that doesn't require any additional assistance.
I think one of the old tenants installed this and I'm not really sure what it is or how it works. It just is completely broken and falling off the wall, and there's no like receiver in the house, and these little cords are just capped off with some electrical tape. So it's scary and ugly and needs to get removed, and I really want a solution because everybody just bangs on our screen door and it's not the most efficient way to get our attention. I had no idea, but there's so many options for doorbells. There's of course the hardwired ones, and then you have to have a chime on the inside of your house that connects so that you can hear the doorbell being pressed. There's also wireless ones that either run off a AA battery or a D battery. And then there's others where you plug a receiver into one of your local outlets and then it has a speaker on it and it connects to the button outside. So I just heard back that I cannot rewire any kind of doorbell and that they don't know anything about it. So I have to do something wireless if I want a doorbell. So I don't want one that's going to take up one of my outlets by plugging it in because those are so minimal to begin with. So I need something that can be either charged or take batteries. So pretty much all of these are not cool except for this one maybe, but this is hardwired only. I think I'm just going to try this one and see how it goes. There's not a lot of options in here. Maybe I'll have to look online. So for me, the general setup is to get one of these universal chimes that plays the actual music or sound when you hit the button, and then to buy an additional button. I got this one that came with both. So I don't know where I'm going to put it in my house, as it just can get mounted on the wall. I was thinking about maybe putting it above my mailbox or something like that. Or maybe I can just put it in my hall closet, which is directly right behind me here, because I do need to hear it from the back of the house. It just depends on how loud it is. So I know this one is kind of ugly, but it was the cheapest and I just wanted to try it out. And then this is like the little doorbell button piece that you can mount with screws or a command strip, but I just want to see what it sounds like. Okay, that's very loud, and I did not even think about volume control. My house is pretty small. I don't need something that loud, and I don't see like a little volume button on the box. So I don't know if this is the right solution. I might have to look online to see if there's some other options that were still affordable, but a little bit more customizable. And then the real problem is I really need to figure out how to adhere this little white button onto the wall, because clearly there's just some capped off cords here. So I can't really command strip anything. And I don't think if I screwed the little back plate in, the screws would line up with what's already here. So I'm going to take some time to think about this. It is literally like 85 or 87 degrees, and I've never remembered it being this hot in the early part of the year. I don't know, but I need to take a moment to cool off. So I was going to make myself some lunch. I'm going to make like a high protein, low calorie meal with HelloFresh. So thank you so much to them for sponsoring today's video. No joke. I literally just got the delivery at my door right now. So it's perfect timing. I've been using HelloFresh recently and I absolutely love it because we're just getting a couple meals a week to substitute these like busier days, because it's so easy to order takeout and it's usually not that healthy. So this has really been helping us getting a lot more nutrients and daily protein in. When I'm in the middle of a project and I'm already tired and hungry, the last thing I want to do is figure out what to eat. So it's so nice to just pull something right out of the fridge or the box and follow some simple instructions and have something ready to eat in like 35 minutes. So today I think I'm going to make this Tex-Mex chicken and queso rice bowl with salsa fresca. This is so up my alley. We love Mexican food, and it has 41 grams of protein and only 630 calories. So that's a fantastic midday meal to have so that I can keep going on my projects. I love that everything in HelloFresh is already pre-portioned, so I really don't have to do a lot except for like maybe some chopping or draining or mixing. And the instructions are so easy to follow with pictures. It's like fantastic. I actually used HelloFresh so much during the pandemic because we didn't want to go to the grocery store, and I absolutely love this service. So we restarted it recently and it's been so helpful, especially for like a midday lunch or just a really quick dinner. They have so many different meal plans you can choose from. So no matter your like dietary restrictions or interests, they've got like meat and vegetable or fit and wholesome, which is what I'm doing. They also have quick and under 20 minutes. They even have pescatarian or family friendly. So these are kid tested meals. So if you've been wanting some help getting on the right track with your nutrition or just something easy to fill in the day so you don't have to do a ton of grocery shopping and prepping, use my code livingwithlk
LKFM at HelloFresh.com for 10 free meals and free shipping. Free meals are applied as a discount on your very first box, and that's for new or returning subscribers only, and it varies by plan, but you can check out the link down in my description below to sign up at HelloFresh.com with my code LivingWithLKFM. Now let's get back to the front porch. So I've always wanted some kind of security in front of my home. Even when I was living in an apartment, I got a ring cam because you can see like who's there or if your package got dropped off, and it connects to your phone. It's not the most intuitive thing, especially when you can't officially like mount it on the wall when you're renting. Like you can't drill into your apartment door or the wall and put a little mounting plate. And there was never really anything on the market that I could find. And so I just kind of resorted to using like a ton of command strips on the back and sticking it on the stucco. And sometimes it would fall off if like the door slammed or if there was like extreme heat or a lot of rain, and I've never really prioritized trying to find another situation for it. I did eventually try to get a plug-in camera that would sit inside of my house and look through the window, but I realized at night it was completely pointless because it would just be a reflection. And so I've been kind of frustrated with it, especially since I'm a renter and I can't really install like a home security system. And so the last few months I haven't even had my ring cam out there, but I really want to bring it back since I'm working on the front porch makeover.
So I found this ring cam mount that you can attach to a door. It comes with this U-shaped clamp that clamps on the inside of your door so that it's safe and no one can like rip it off. You can also angle it. So depending on where your door is situated, if you want to make it look toward the street or down the hallway of your apartment building, it's really easy to maneuver, and it's just got this little twisty thing that tightens it. Additionally, it also has this little screw at the bottom to secure the little box so that it feels like pretty safe, honestly. However, I have this huge screen door in front of my front door, and so I wanted to try to find one that would maybe clamp with some of these like little foam spacers, and I wanted to really make this work, but I just could not make it work. It would not close all the way. Even when I got it clamped on and almost closed, you can see the door jamb was still blocking me. So I was kind of discouraged with this, and then figured that maybe I could just take the housing of this clamp and zip tie it to the screen door. I know it's like not the most secure thing, but this is going to kind of resolve our issue of not having a doorbell and also being able to use the ring cam as well until I figure out a better solution. And honestly, I think this is going to work for us. Also, these foam blocks just help keep the ring cam in there securely and came with it in a bunch of different sizes. So I think this adapts to different types of Ring doorbells depending on which one you have. So if you have a simple door setup, I highly recommend this. I think it's a really cool hack so you don't have to screw into your stucco, especially if you're renting and you don't know if like the next tenants are going to end up using that mount.
So after doing tons of research on these wireless doorbells and trying to find one that had adjustable volume and maybe some like different kind of ringtones or doorbell sounds,
I finally came across this one where you can buy the doorbell itself and then the chime separately. They're both from the same company, but this one specifically has a 350-foot range. It also has 16 different tones, and you can change the volume. You just have to put in 3 C batteries.
So this one is a lot bigger than the last one I got. So I still am going to mount it on the wall somewhere, but I want to create some kind of like way to cover it, I guess, just to make it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing inside the house. So that's something I'm going to have to figure out at a later time. But I did want to get a darker doorbell. And what was nice about this brand is that you could buy the doorbell and the little chime separately in different colors. And so I wanted black because I thought it kind of lended itself to the Spanish black iron look that's kind of going on in the front porch area.
And my solution for mounting it on the wall is picking up one of these little junction box covers that typically goes on an outlet on your wall. This one's actually made out of black metal, so it matches the little button perfectly. And I think this really completes the look and finally gives me a way to cover up everything and also use it functionally. So I had to pick up some concrete screws as well as some concrete drill bits to go into this like plaster stucco wall. And because I couldn't use the black screws that came with it and had to use these construction screws, I covered it with this black paint Sharpie. It's a little bit more liquid and less iridescent than a traditional Sharpie, so it looks a lot better and more realistic. And then I just used the command strip to mount this right here in the middle. And I feel like this is a really cool solution, and it took me so long to come up with this. I cannot tell you why, but finally I figured it out and I think it looks really official.
Okay, so my porch light is right above my address number, so I'm going to be filming this in kind of like a really weird way, but I went looking for some porch lights at the local hardware store trying to find something that was the most aesthetically pleasing and also pretty affordable. And I found this really cool one. I love the really fun spiral on top. It feels like kind of a Spanish vibe to me. This one was $70, which I guess is not too bad compared to some of the other prices I saw. Unfortunately, it's just not going to fit because of this little cement overhang, which I didn't take into consideration. So I thought I would just start with taking off the light so that I could measure everything properly. And then I eventually went back to the hardware store, returned that light, and picked up this one that kind of has this cool craftsman vibe to it. It's a little bit smaller than I'd probably like. However, it was only $63 and it kind of matches what was in my inspiration photos. So I think it's a good compromise and it just has like a cleaner look to it. And it's definitely going to fit within this little area. I think it just gives a more refined look to have this like newer light up there, honestly. I'm going to keep the old light in a box somewhere in the house or in the garage so that I can put it back if and when I move out. But this is definitely a little bit more of a refined upgrade for sure. But then once I realized after unscrewing the back plate and trying to reconnect the cords, everything inside there was just as bad as it was in the kitchen. All the wires were totally bad. So instead of calling the whole property manager all over again, I decided to just call a TaskRabbit, and it was only $50 an hour plus tip. And this guy got it done in like 40 minutes and he really helped me replace all of the cords in there. And I just had him completely finish installing the light for me, and that was it. So I think it looks a lot better and it was honestly worth it. So oftentimes when you buy a plant from the nursery, it comes in one of these kind of ugly gray or black pots. And I wanted to not waste the pot and use it, especially since ceramic or stone pots can just cost so much. So I picked up some specific spray paint, and these spray paints actually add a layer of texture. So when you look at them and when you touch them, they actually feel like stone, and they have like a nice natural variation, which again makes it look like ceramic or terracotta. So I like the terracotta version the best, I think. And I wanted to use this pot on my front porch to grow like a little patio tomato that just grows in like the size of a bush. So this would be the perfect size just to get it started and get it growing. So I didn't want to spray the inside of the pot. I just wanted to do mainly the outside. I don't think it's the end of the world though if there's some spray paint that gets on the inside. And I just did 2 coats of this and it just looked so good. I also found this pot on the property and it was quite chipped and just kind of ugly in the way it was, even though I washed it really well. So I'm covering it in this textured spray paint that had a really nice warm color by Krylon. But then I ran out just toward the end, and I guess they discontinued this color, so I couldn't even finish it. So I ended up using a different spray paint to kind of have this like darker sandy look to it. And then I used my diamond drill bit to put a hole in the bottom so that I can actually drain this into a tray. And this process is a little bit difficult just in the sense that it does take some time, and you also have to have some water flowing on this thing in order to put a hole in it, but it's definitely worth the time because it makes the pot totally usable. So these are a few ways to make the most of some of your pots that you might have lying around, or maybe just some cheap ones that you can find on Facebook Marketplace. I wanted to add some color to the patio, and I thought red would be really fantastic and match the house. And I chose this leucadendron because it's such a really pretty foliage plant for creating your own bouquets. And since I've been growing a lot of wildflowers in the yard, I hope that this grows really big so I can always cut little stems off it and use it in the house. Okay, so we're finally at the stage where I have some finishing touches to finalize this whole front porch experience. So first, I picked up some cushions from IKEA. These ones match the ones in my breezeway. I like how simple they are. They're super comfy and they fit just about any chair. So I think these look great. Plus, it'll help when the seats get really hot in the sun. We can still sit outside. And then I want to add in, yet again, some more plants. If you want a smaller way to add in flowers, herbs, or plants into your balcony space or any outdoor area, I discovered something called sky pots. I was actually trying to come up with a way to DIY this myself, but then as I was researching, I saw someone already created it. So you can get a 2-pack or a 4-pack and you can continue to add on to this as needed. But basically, this is a little hanging system that allows multiple pots of any type, whether it's ceramic or plastic, and no matter the size, to be connected to each other so that when you water the top one, it waters the plants below it. And it's so compact and doesn't take up much space at all. You just need to make sure to use a screw on the
wall that's going to hold that type of weight. And the water just trickles down these poles, and then it gets caught at the very bottom with this little cup so that it could catch all the excess water. And then you can just dump that water back into the pot or into your other plants. But I thought this was a really convenient and small space saving way to include more plants in your space in an aesthetically pleasing way, considering I'm not a huge fan of those hanging basket macrame rope things. I've been really into all these weird variations of mint. Like I have chocolate mint and strawberry mint, orange mint, and mojito mint. And so these are kind of invasive in the sense that if you plant them somewhere, they will root themselves all over your yard. So a great place to plant something like mint is in a pot, and they smell so good. I thought it would be just a really nice accent to have on the front porch. But because I have concrete or plaster walls, I just used some construction screws that are made for concrete and drilled this in with a little Dollar Tree hanger. And then the Sky Pots package came with a chain to hang the pots. And then that's pretty much it. And it fills up a really nice little blank piece of my wall, and it looks really nice and put together.
I also picked up this really cool doormat that's made out of lobster rope baskets that are from the New England area, and it was kind of pricey, but it's supposed to be extremely durable. And I feel like I just go through doormats so much that I wanted to get something that was going to last. So I got something that kind of matched the seat cushions and also just felt very neutral for the front of the home. Plus, I think this has like a really cool look to it. And if you want to check these out, I will definitely link them down in the description below, as they have tons of other colors and designs as well. So of course I want to create some kind of cover for the doorbell so that it looks a little bit more aesthetically pleasing in the house. So I just grabbed one of these poplar pieces of wood from the hobby area at the hardware store, and I cut it down to about 7.5 by 6. And then I'm just gluing it together to kind of have like more of a seamless look so I don't see any screws. And I wanted to do this quickly so I didn't miter the edges, but I think this really turned out pretty well. And I just used these corner clamps to keep everything in place to make sure that it was absolutely square. It's really hard to get something super square without these clamps, so I will link these down in the description below if you want to try something similar. And while I was waiting for it to dry, I went to the hardware store and picked up some of this metal mesh. I think it's made out of aluminum, and they have all different shapes and sizes and colors. So I picked up this bronze one with like a smaller hole pattern. And this is basically going to act like as a speaker front so that you can still hear the doorbell noise coming out. So I just cut it down to size, and then I picked up a piece of trim and used my miter shears to make like a little simple frame. And then I just glued all of this onto the box and used some painter's tape to keep it in place. And once everything was dry, I just gave it a coat of this honey stain, and I think this turned out really cool. I'm very happy with it. It's super fun, and I'll probably end up making a different version in the future, but this was a really great prototype. So now that this front porch is complete and looking so much better, let's just take a minute to remember what it used to look like. At the end of all of this, I feel like this is one of those projects where I was like, why did I take so long to do this? But I think it's just because I was undecided on whether it was worth spending money on upgrading a space like this. However, it has really improved our quality of life here. We love going out there. I think it looks super cute from the curb, and I really just feel like it improves like the overall space and the entrance into the home. I think I spent about $500 exactly on everything, and the doorbell I thought was literally going to take me out. And I was so upset about the electrical box with with the light. However, everything turned out just fine. It just took some time to really process the ideas and to try to find the right things that would make it work. It also took me so long to really find those secondhand outdoor pieces. So of course, if you want to spend a little bit more money, you can find those pieces and not have to worry about budget. There's always going to be things that are outside of your control or your budget or what you would like to do, especially if you don't own the home. That doesn't mean you can't spend some time and money trying to make the space look better and feel better overall. So if you want some more ideas on that outside of this video, definitely go check out this video or any of the other videos on my channel. Honestly, I have a whole outdoor playlist that you can go check out if you're in the spring mood. Other than that, I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.